Welcome back to the Upper Tier Podcast, the football podcast we bring you each and every week on the Dynamo Podcast Network. Head over to YouTube, smash that subscribe and bell notification button. Audio versions of the show are available through Podbean, Apple iTunes, Spotify, wherever you pick up your audio shows. Today we have the transfer show. Dana's back. We're going to be doing the weekly transfer show. Lots to talk about. We're going to be getting into the Grealish situation. We're going to be talking about Varane. We're going to be talking about Lautaro Martinez. We're going to be talking about Alexander Lacazette. Lots to talk about. Ben White's deal all done. Kurt Zouma, interesting developments there with Kurt Zouma, but we're going to get into this anyway. Dan, how we doing, my man?
Hi, everybody. Great to be back.
Good. Full of beans this week. Back training, all happy, filled, the whole lot.
Sun's out, guns out.
Awesome. That's what I want to hear. Let's start. We'll talk about Raphael Varane, obviously. Looks like the deal is more or less complete at this stage, just crossing the T's and dotting the I's at this stage. Absolutely outstanding signing for Man United, 34 million.
Yeah, we talked about it last week about it's a worrying time. We were kind of slagging United off to our Liverpool fans, slagging United off towards the end of the season about how they had their best season in so long and they still won nothing and how Ole needs to go and nobody could foresee what was going to come. Now I know signings don't guarantee success, but come here, if you're a United fan, you're absolutely ecstatic about what's going on at the moment. From the outside looking in as well as a Liverpool fan and their lack of activity and United are strengthening in the areas that they need strengthening in. Sancho coming in is an exceptional signing, takes the burden off Greenwood, and with Rashford out injured now, like there's a ready replacement to step in. Cavani re-signing, but Varane for me that's the big signing for United. Sancho's all the flair and the guile and the attacking threat, but United just need to steady that ship at the back. You need to resolve the goalkeeping issue, but for me, Varane coming in, born winner, won a World Cup, countless Champions League, countless La Ligas, still only young. Harry Maguire's only going to get better beside him for me, if I'm being honest, and that kills me saying anything like decent about United as a Liverpool fan. But United have gone about their business in the exact way that if you're a United fan, you wanted them to go about their business. There's still a few big names that are linked with them as well. And I said it during the week in a Liverpool chat that I'm involved with. Everybody's talking up City and Chelsea as the big two for the league this year. But I'll put my hands up and I'll say with the signings that United look set to make, United are definitely up there as challengers for the league. I did say a few times that where can City get better now? If they get Grealish, that's obviously going to take them to another level. Don't know about Harry Kane. Chelsea, we know who they're linked with, but for me, United, these signings for United are absolutely they're excellent. They're exactly what they need, and it's the fresh ideas, the freshness, takes the burden off players that were carrying the team. Hate to say it, but fair play to them because at times you see teams that nearly get there and they don't, kind of step in and get the final pieces of the jigsaw. But for me, United are definitely going in the right direction.
Absolutely. I've seen comparisons there during the week. Obviously, Arsenal have finalised the signing of Ben White. 53 million, I think, was reported. And we seen these comparisons during the week. We have Ben White there, 53 million to Arsenal, and we have Raphael Varane, 34 million to Man United. Yeah. So like 20 million in the difference.
But Raphael Varane is in the final year of his contract, is he?
Yeah.
What I mean?
But I mean, even so, if you're looking at Raphael Varane, I think he's 27 years of age in the prime of his career, has basically done everything and won everything. So it's hard to understand the justification for the valuation on Ben White, isn't
it? We laughed at this a few weeks back. I said to my parents last night and just had a bit of food. And when I came in, my dad wasn't there. He'd been out having a few beers with friends. And when I came in, Sky Sports News was on and it was all pictures of Ben White in the Arsenal kit and all, and I just can't fathom how they came to that price for Ben White. Decent player, don't get me wrong, decent player, but he's nowhere near worth 53 million. Yeah, they say he's an England international. You know, he was brought to the Euros and played about. Did he even play 5 minutes?
Don't think so. Don't think
No,
he
you
played any
know,
minutes.
he was there kind of. They had their first three choice centre backs, and I think he was just brought in just to bulk up numbers at the back. Didn't play any minutes. Connor Cody didn't play any minutes. I can't get my head around it. Varane, like, he's a list as long as my arm of success, and he's gone into Man United. Now you have Arsenal fans trying to say that Arsenal got the better deal.
We shall see. We shall see. It remains to be seen.
I just, Brighton put it's exactly like what Leicester did with Harry Maguire. You know, they knew Arsenal wanted, and they weren't going to get him unless they paid up. And in the end, Brighton are the big winners here.
It is amazing when you think about how players, when they do declare for England and stuff like that. I mean, we're going to touch on Jack Grealish, obviously, but I was listening to reports there during the week where they were saying, look, if Jack Grealish had have declared for Ireland, he'd probably be a 40 to 50 million pound player. But the fact that he's declared for England, he's a £100 million player, you know?
Yeah, but I don't necessarily, whether Jack Grealish played for Ireland, England, or some small island off fucking New Zealand, he's still an exceptional player. And I think he would have took, well, regardless of who he declared for, he would have took his game to that level. So you see it with a lot of players that once they're English and they're young, that the price skyrockets. But Jack Grealish, for me, as scandalous as the price is, he's got a long contract at Villa that has to be bought out. He is really, really young, but he's an outstanding player. He's an absolutely outstanding. And for all the shit that we give him regarding what he done and pulling away from Ireland, he was born in England. You know what I mean? It was it was inevitable. Yeah. Once you've got that talent, the decline in Irish football, international wise, is skating, like, it's rapid. And for me, he's the future. I did say before the Euros that I thought Phil Foden was going to be the standout player for England at the Euros, but other than Sterling and Calvin Phillips, Declan Rice, I thought Grealish, when he came into the picture, he was outstanding. And for me, I think he's worth every penny of what Man City look like they're going to pay.
Yeah, I think the marketability side of that player as well is absolutely huge as well.
They'll make that money back within 18 months on jersey sales. I think they might actually sell out a few games as well, bringing in him.
Let's talk about something interesting for Arsenal. They've been linked with Inter Milan's Lautaro Martinez. And the talk is that the deal might be tied into a move for Hector Bellerin as well, because apparently Bellerin wants out of Arsenal, but apparently he'd like to go to somewhere like Milan or something like that. As you know, with Hector Bellerin, he's in this kind of modelling type of thing and stuff. He's in that phase, so a city like Milan would be perfect for him.
Shoots down to the ground. He has his own fashion brand or whatever you call it as well. It's crazy to think that a player who's that good, because I love Hector Bellerin. He gets up and down. Very exciting defender. Just they're far and few between in football. I love Hector Bellerin. I watched him since his early Barcelona days when he was coming through there, and it's mad to think that a player that good, you're playing in the best league in the world, and you're thinking about the next chapter in your career, and there was talk of him going back to Barcelona. But the main pull of going to Milan is the fucking fashion sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's safe to say the last 2 years he's been quite distracted when it comes to football. I mean, the last 2 years haven't been the best 2 years of his career. And certainly he has moved into other aspects of business within his brand. So, yeah, I think a move to Milan would be a real good move. And I think if they were able to pull that move together, along with getting in Lautaro Martinez, I think that would be an absolute monstrous move for Arsenal. Because Hector's made it very clear that he wants to move on. Arsenal have made it very clear that they're happy for him to move on, but they want the right deal. So I think that would be an exceptional deal if Arsenal could pull it together. But I am still wary when we talk about these swap deals. They're just so difficult to pull together.
Yeah, the thing with Inter Milan is as like, we know that they were in a bit of dire straits financially as well, but Hakimi leaving and going to PSG, you know, there is a hole that needs to be filled on that side of the pitch, and Hector Bellerin can play on either side of the defence, but he can also play on the wings as well. So that for me, you know, fresh challenge, you know, that kind of get up and go. You'll see it with Varane when he comes in at United. You know, he went as far as he could with with Real Madrid and won absolutely everything, international and club wise. So coming into Man United, the a full Old Trafford again, you know, the fans are going to be excited with the signings they've made. Inter Milan as well. Like, for me, Bellerin is more than adequate replacement for Hakimi, and it's up in arms now as well regarding Lukaku as well. There's talk now that he could be leaving too, but could see Inter Milan really going to challenge again for that league. If Lukaku can stay with Bellerin coming in as well, you know, they kind of ironed out their difficulties financial wise after winning the league as well. So I can't see him being totally distracted by the whole fashion side of things, but we know it will play a part in his move. But, you know, if he goes in there and just knuckles down and plays the way he could, because there was 2 or 3 years when he was with Arsenal that he was one of the best fullbacks in the Premier League. And if he can get to those heights again, get back involved to the international scene as well, we will see what he's made of, because he is an outstanding talent.
Yeah. Interesting reports this week from Football London. They reported that Arsenal have instigated intermediary talks with James Maddison's agent in looking at a £60 million move from Leicester to Arsenal. It's an interesting link, but I don't think it's one that I think would happen. I know James Maddison, he's kind of been on the fringes there last season as well. But I think in Leicester's position, there's a lot of issues there at the moment, because a lot of their players are getting linked with clubs, and a lot of players that they wouldn't like to get rid of. You know, we've seen links with Soyuncu at the back and stuff like that, even with Johnny Evans. We've seen other links there as well with Yuri Tillemans, lots of different players there being linked with different clubs. So James Maddison, I think, is it realistic that Arsenal will pay 60 million for him?
No.
I'm not too sure. Would James Maddison want to go to Arsenal when he's at Leicester in a real good project there with Brendan Rodgers at the moment? I'm not too sure about that either. So I just don't know. They did report it, but it is an interesting one that we'll have to keep an eye on.
I think regarding Maddison as well, Niall, he had a little falling out with Rodgers as well throughout last season regarding COVID. I think he was pictured at a house party or something like that, and we know from the past Rodgers doesn't take to that kind of thing too lightly. So Rodgers had to be seen to make a stand, and he did. But I think I don't see that move happening. I think we'll see a reinvigorated James Maddison next year. I think Brendan would have brought him in. He's integral to the setup there. We seen when he's on his game, when he gets into a little run of games and he's scoring goals and getting assists and all, James Maddison is an exceptional player. And if I was him personally, why they're building a massive project there at Leicester. It's they were unlucky to miss out on Champions League football, but Arsenal have no European football next year. So for me, James Maddison, if he wants to get really become a focal point in the England setup, he needs to stay with Leicester. He needs to be playing European football. He needs to just keep his head down, stay away from the limelight. I know that the fucking £15,000 Gucci fucking see-through bags, not just play our football, because, as I said, from the outside looking in and as a neutral, Leicester fan, when he is playing good football, he stands out. So he needs to just knuckle down, focus on it. I'm sure Brendan would have said that to him, because he's not a bad manager to be playing under Brendan Rodgers. He's strict when he needs to be strict. He puts the foot down when he needs to put the foot down. But the players he's brought in there, I love watching Leicester. Unless they're playing Liverpool. But they've got some very, very good players there, and they've made some good signings this summer. So yeah, I can't say. I wouldn't. If he did go to Arsenal, I'd be very, very surprised, because the project that's at Leicester and the project that's at Arsenal, they're on completely different levels. So for me, it's a step backwards.
Yeah, absolutely. Apparently, Manchester United's defender Eric Boy is very concerned about his position at the team with the arrival of Raphael Varane. I would have been very concerned about my position regardless. This is a guy who can't seem to stay fit. And I'm sure he is, on his day when he plays, he can be an exceptional defender. But he can't seem to maintain a run of games, which must be highly frustrating for the coaches and for Ollie at United. And it's safe to say he'd be well down the pecking order at this stage,
I,
at least behind Lindelof.
I do say, and I said the same thing with Liverpool, the pace that the Premier League is going, and it's not just one or two teams anymore. You have the chasing pack that are slowly catching up on you, and Man United just can't afford to have someone like Eric Bay as like that's your reliant. Like if Harry Maguire got injured or Varane got injured, touch wood they do. But if one of them were to get injured, you can't trust Bay. Maybe 2 games, even if he's not injured, he has to be managed because there's always that lingering worry that he is going to pick up an injury. And I say it with Naby Keita, and I say it with Matip and all. Nowadays in the Premier League, you just can't. You haven't got time to just hang on and give them another year and see if they come good or see if they get past you. Yeah, we've seen it with Bay. This has been going on for what, 2.5 years with injuries. They just need to cut the losses with him. Bring in Trippier, which looks likely as well, who can play centre back as well as either side of the defence. And for me, Lindelof, as much as he gets the criticism, he isn't a bad centre half, and he would fill like a stopgap if you get me. Yeah. So Bay should be more than worried before Varane came in about what Man United were thinking about doing with his career. But for me, if I'm a United fan, I'd be more than happy to see him go, because you can't, I've said it countless times, you just can't rely on these players to come in and fill a gap, not even short term with him.
Absolutely. Arsenal reporting this week that they've lowered the asking price for Alexander Lacazette down to 30 million. I think 30 million euros for Alexander Lacazette, I think, is a decent deal for a team that's crying out for a striker there, or a guy who can score goals, on his day, he's unplayable, absolutely unbelievable, and definitely has an eye for goal and stuff like that. So 30 million euros to me seems like a great deal for Alexander Lacazette for a team in need of one.
Yeah, they're trying to get Atletico Madrid to jump on board on the bandwagon with that. But I just think the pace of the Premier League is why you can't keep it consistent there. But when he is on form and he's firing on all cylinders, he's a very reliant attacker, but he's just not consistent enough about it. And I think someone on the European scene, like, I think if Inter Milan were to lose Lukaku, I think that'd be a great move for him, the Italian league. He'll score goals wherever he goes. But I just think with the way Arsenal is up and down, and the Aubameyang situation, because it was either or. We rarely seen both of them start up top. Yeah. And when Lacazette did start, we seen Aubameyang pushed out wide, and I couldn't make sense of that, because Aubameyang, when he plays up top, you're almost guaranteed a goal every other game. But with Lacazette, you're not guaranteed that. So, 30 million, if I'm Inter Milan or if I'm Atletico Madrid or someone like that, I am all over that move.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, Jack Grealish's move to Man City is imminent. Apparently, they've lodged a 100 million bid that Aston Villa are obviously going through at the moment and stuff like that. But I seen a report there late last night that they may not necessarily accept the move. And I was thinking, why would you turn down 100 million for this lad? You know what I mean? The development, I know he's such a huge player for Aston Villa, but the development in that squad, if you had 100 million to spend, would be absolutely massive.
100%. I said the exact same thing to my dad last night. We were having to do it. I was like, what you make of the situation with Grealish? And that's old school Republican, hates Declan Rice and Jack Grealish, but he'll give them credit and say they're outstanding players. But for me, and we talked about last week in the transfer show, the project that's being built at Aston Villa, how do you turn down 117 million euros to replace one player? With the players that are coming in, they've got some very, very exciting players coming through. There's 3 or 4 lads on the FA Youth Cup winning side that are definitely going to be on the scene next year as well. But for me, like, that, the defense is solid. They could probably, with the money that they'll get for Grealish, they can probably add like maybe 2 experienced, defenders that are going to shore up the defence. They've got one of the best goalkeepers in the league in Emiliano Martinez. I absolutely love that guy. Centre of the park, you know, you've got probably 40, 50 million to stick into your middle of the park. And then, you know, they obviously had money to spend before the Jack Grealish situation came about. But for me, they can't turn this down. You know, I was reading this morning as well from a source close to Aston Villa, who's very, very good relation. Now, he didn't come out and he was like, oh, Jack wants to stay or Jack wants to go. But he said that he's torn because he wants to stay at Villa and he wants to be part of that project. But you're moving to one of the biggest clubs in world football where you're going to win trophies. And if I'm Jack Grealish, I'm looking at saying, well, like I got Aston Villa to the Premier League. I've been one of the standout players. I've been captain for X amount of time. I've not fallen out with. I'm sure the fans will understand as well. It's not like he's gone for 35, 40 million and he's wear down his contract. You know what I mean? For me, Aston Villa need to take the money, and it's only going to build their project even stronger. You know, and who's to say that he got? For me, he'll go to Man City and he'll be as outstanding as we know he can be. But Aston Villa can get 3, 4, 5 outstanding players in with that kind of money. And who's to say that they can't be challenging for top 6 next year?
Yeah. I also think the opportunity to get coached by Pep Guardiola in terms of his own personal development and stuff like that would be very hard to refuse.
He's that type of player as well, you know, that would fit in perfect to the Pep Guardiola like kind of blueprint.
Yeah, and I think the Villa fans would wish him well as well. I mean, he's been extremely loyal to Aston Villa. I mean, he's had a number of opportunities to move that he has turned down to stay with Villa. So it's probably time to move on now and be slightly more selfish about your own career, if you like.
It's happened. Like, how many times have we seen it? Like, no disrespect to Aston Villa, but players outside the top 4, you know, like when a club like Chelsea, Man United, Man City, Liverpool come knocking, that's the dream for homegrown players. For the South Americans and stuff, you sign for Liverpool, you sign for Arsenal, you sign for Man United, Barcelona, Real Madrid knock on the door. That's your dream move. For homegrown players to play for one of the top teams in the Premier League is your goal in your career.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's turn our attention to Jules Koundé, who we've spoke about a number of times on the transfer show. Outstanding player there with Sevilla. Looking to make the switch to Chelsea. Chelsea look like they're very close to signing him, but a number of things have come out during the week. One, Chelsea were offering Kurt Zouma as part of the deal in order to secure Jules Koundé, but Kurt Zouma has come out now. Apparently, there's a lot of interest there from West Ham, and he's favouring the move to West Ham over, you know, the player kind of swap deal with Sevilla and stuff like that. I think for Kurt Zouma, move to West Ham will be outstanding. I think it's a great move for him, especially with the project at West Ham and the success of last year that they had and stuff like that. Playing under David Moyes, I think his development would be really, really good. So that leaves a kind of a dilemma there for Chelsea. So Chelsea potentially are going to have to maybe use the funds from the sale of Kurt Zouma to West Ham to secure Jules Koundé. I don't think there's any issue about whether they get the player or not. I think it's just the timing of it. But I know during the week the deal was really, really close, and then this kind of cropped up where West Ham expressed an interest in Kurt Zouma, and he was favouring that move to West Ham. I'm sure he'd love to stay in London without a shadow of a doubt. But two exceptional players.
Yeah, Koundé, like, he's a modern, versatile centre back, very pacey, great distribution. Able to play in the back 3 as well as play as right back, you know. And Chelsea have got some very, very good players to turn to in the defence. And Koundé, very young, but I just think that he'll be excellent under Tuchel, you know. There won't be any pressure on him to come straight into the team. I know that 63 million is what they're talking about. You know, it is a lot of money, but I think we're having Thiago Silva there and having Rudiger there as well. He's gonna come in, like, you're learning from 2 of the best in the game. So even if he comes in and he's slow to get up to speed, Chelsea still have 2 world-class centre backs to turn to. So that for me that's an like being able to play on the right as well. But that for me that's one of the signings of the summer. If Chelsea get Koundé, he's outstanding, and he's only a kid as well. So you still have that 4 or 5 years with him, and then you have if he was to come into Chelsea for 4 or 5 years, well, I think he's 22, like 27. They talk about centre backs 27 to around 32 is the twilight of your career. And he's only going to get better at Chelsea. You know, we've seen it with Seville. He's outstanding. I think that fella should have his own show because we talk about him every week. But I just think that the marketing value and the potential sell-on value as well, like, is something that can't be shied away from too. But great signing for Chelsea. It's inevitable that will happen.
Yeah, and I think the opportunity to be coached under Thomas Tuchel would be huge, and also the fact that he's going to the current European champions. You know, so like that's a massive draw for a guy like him. You know, so we'll keep an eye on it, but it'll be interesting. It sounds like the decision for Kurt Zouma is the decisive factor in how this jigsaw comes together. You know, but certainly interesting. Finally, I wanted to touch on Manuel Locatelli, outstanding player, was linked with Arsenal. But Sassuolo's CEO has confirmed this week that there's Juventus talks. So it doesn't look like the interest will be heading towards Arsenal, more towards Juventus.
Yeah, not too good to sign for a club like Arsenal. No disrespect to Arsenal. He just won the Euros with Italy. Has been one of the standout players for Italy. And then you've got Inter Milan won the Serie A last year, but Juventus are kind of the kings of Italy, aren't they? And Juventus come knocking on the door. You have Champions League football. You're not moving out of Italy. You know, he's considered, every player that was involved in that squad is considered a hero, and also just the staying at home, playing for the kings of Italy. You know, challenging with the Champions League, challenging for the league again, or else you can sign for Arsenal. It's a no-brainer,
really, isn't it?
No.
And I suppose we have to finish off with one thing, some late news that arrived to us. Trent extending his contract out to 2025. Some good news for us at last, on the back of last week's nonsense that was going on.
It came into his own towards the end of the season for Liverpool. Pivotal to what the club is all about. The Scouts lad, but there's a few of them now, but the Scouts lad in the team, future captain for Liverpool, and I don't think you'll come across a Liverpool fan who isn't happy that he's signed a new deal. And best of luck to him till 2025. I believe he'll stay on furthermore, probably another 3 or 4 years after that as well. But a bit of good news regarding Liverpool, because seems to be the only good news we're getting is contract renewals.
Hey, looking at the players that are involved in it at the moment, it's not bad news at all, is it, really, when you think about it?
No, Fabrizio Romano was talking last night saying that Addison in the next couple of days will be next. But the Trent one, like we talked a few weeks ago, or a couple of weeks ago, about Liverpool players signing new contracts and all, and the Trent one kind of went under the radar for me, because I didn't really hear much about it, and it leads me to believe that regarding transfers, look at Fabinho. I do think we'll sign a couple of players, but Michael Edwards just keeps everything close to his chest. So I'm hoping that in the next, the league starts in next 2 weeks today for Liverpool. I'm just hoping in the next 6 or 7 days that we get one of those Fabinho moments, and we get a text out of the blue from you saying we're just after signing X, Y, or Z. But I'm just frustrated. Doing the transfer show, I know we'll touch on it with the Shankly sessions next, but like we go from we're signing X, Y, and Z to let's hope that Naby Keita can stay fit. It's just a very, very frustrating time. But look, I'm just holding out and hope that everything's being done under the radar, and there is going to be a couple of names coming in. So
I think it's inevitable, isn't it, really? But this has been this week's transfer show. Things are definitely heating up in the transfer market. Lots of teams getting linked with lots of players, and we'll be bringing you news throughout next week and all the way up to the end of the transfer window as players start to move around. Things gotten a little bit quiet from Henderson over the last week. Very quiet as well with Harry Kane as well. Doesn't seem to be as much talk, but it'll be interesting to see. Teams are coming up now to the final stages of their pre-season. We got the Community Shield coming up and the league kicking off, and that's where the real business end of stuff starts. So this is going to be an interesting show over the next 3 to 4 weeks as things heat up and we enter the final month of this transfer window. Until next time, Dynamo Podcast Network on YouTube for all the episodes. Audio versions of the show are on Spotify, Podbean, Apple iTunes. This has been your transfer show. Let us know your comments down in the comment section. Also, you can hit us up at the _upper_ tier on Twitter, the upper tier on Facebook and Instagram. Let us know your thoughts, any moves or transfers you think may or may not happen for your club. Hit us up and give us the heads up on it. Till next time, Dean. Cheers, man.
See you later, my friend. Take care, my man.